Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling what is, well, probably the most fundamental paradox in public service.
That core tension, right?
Exactly. The one that really defines how the government interacts with, well, with you. On one side, you've got your frontline workers, the people actually delivering the services.
And they need flexibility. They need what we call discretion.
But on the other side, we, the public, demand strict rules, oversight, accountability.
And that relationship has always been seen as a zero-sum game, a classic trade-off.
So if you give a social worker more freedom to use their judgment,
Then managers and citizens have less control.
yeah,
But if you impose really rigid rules for accountability, you just kill that responsiveness.
it's been the structural hurdle for decades.
For decades.
But today, we've pulled together sources from some foundational theory, Michael Lipsky's work, along with some really cutting-edge research on AI and urban governance. And the mission for this deep dive is to see if AI can finally shift that boundary.
To see if we can get both more discretion and more accountability at the same time.
The sources are calling it accountable discretion.
And to get there, we really have to start with the person at the heart of all this. The street-level bureaucrat. Or SLB for short.
These are the teachers, police officers, social workers, nurses.
Right, the judges in lower courts, the people you interact with.
And their power is, it's immense, isn't it? It often goes completely unnoticed.
Completely. They have wide discretion over who gets benefits, who gets sanctions, so they decide who gets services and how and when.
They're effectively the real policymakers.
That's it. The routines they set up, those thousands of tiny decisions they make every day, that becomes the actual policy you experience. It doesn't matter what the law says on paper.
And some discretion is absolutely necessary, right? You can't just have robots running the system.
You can't. The world they work in is messy. The official rules can be ambiguous or even contradictory.
So you need a human being to apply professional judgment to a specific case.
We want a police officer to use judgment at a traffic stop. We want a social worker to look at a family's unique situation, not just, check off boxes on a form.
Okay, but this is where it gets dark. This is where that necessity turns into what Lipsky called the iron cage. Because that essential discretion gets combined with the reality of government work.
Scarcity. Not enough resources, not enough time, and huge caseloads.
And that forces these frontline workers into some pretty corrosive coping mechanisms.
That's right. So imagine a social worker. Their goal is to offer this highly individualized, client-centered care.
But they're drowning.
They're drowning under a caseload of, say, 80 families. There's just no way to give personal attention to everyone.
So what happens?
Their focus shifts. It moves from the client to just managing their own workload.
They start mass processing.
Exactly. Mass processing people, rationing services, developing these little routines just to simplify their environment and survive the day.
And that simplification often looks like stereotyping or favoritism.
Or just relying on social biases to make a quick decision and move on to the next case in the queue.
So a police officer might use a stereotype. A court official might push the easy cases to the front of the line.
And all of that directly contradicts the agency's official goals. It just destroys public trust.
Which brings us to what the sources call the accountability paradox.
Yeah, that professional judgment, that discretion we said was so necessary. It creates so much variability in decisions that it becomes almost impossible for a manager or an auditor to apply any kind of standard accountability.
Because their systems rely on predictable, standardized processes.
Which the SLB's discretion completely undermines.
Right.
The whole system is just trapped.
This sounds like an impossible problem. You can't get flexibility without losing control, and you can't get control without losing responsiveness.
But this is precisely where the sources suggest that artificial intelligence might step in as a real disruptor.
Okay, so how does AI break that cycle?
Well, what's so fascinating is the theoretical shift it allows. The research suggests AI has the potential to push that trade-off boundary outward.
So it's not an inverse relationship anymore.
Exactly. We can move toward a new model where we enhance both accountability and discretion at the same time. That's the whole idea of accountable discretion.
How does it pull that off? It's not magic.
No, it's about data capacity and transparency. AI can give you real-time monitoring of decisions. It can offer predictive insights to support the bureaucrat.
It can flag when something looks weird, a deviation from the norm.
Right. And crucially, it can expand citizen inquiry and oversight. I mean, look at the numbers. Something like 67% of OECD countries are already using AI for service delivery.
And we're talking about things like municipal chat bots for routine questions or,
Or automated systems that process documents. It's already happening.
this reminds me of an older debate we had when the first wave of IT came into government.
I know exactly what you mean.
Were people worried that tech would take their jobs or just help them do their jobs better?
It's a perfect parallel. That debate was split. You had the curtailment argument, which was that technology would automate everything and shrink the need for human judgment.
And then the other side was the enablement argument.
Right, that these tools would just enhance a bureaucrat's ability to process data, leading to more informed, better discretionary decisions.
And with AI, the consensus seems to be a more nuanced version of enablement. It's about repositioning discretion, not replacing it.
Precisely. The AI handles the routine, repetitive, high-volume tasks, the stuff that forced those bad coping mechanisms we talked about.
Which then frees up the human bureaucrat to focus their energy and their judgment on the really complex cases.
The non-programmed decisions that actually require empathy or political sensitivity or a sense of fairness, it creates this kind of hybrid governance model.
And now with generative AI, that barrier is getting even lower.
It is. It's not just for data scientists anymore. A supervisor can just use plain language, ask a question in a prompt, and analyze huge data sets.
That dramatically increases their ability to do oversight without forcing frontline staff into that rigid bureaucratic reporting.
That's the key. The structural stiffness Lipsky identified was partly because humans just couldn't manage all that complex information without strict rules. AI is a lever to get around some of that.
Okay, the potential is obviously huge, but deploying these powerful algorithmic systems must come with a whole new set of risks.
Absolutely. We can't talk about the benefits without looking at the policy pitfalls. The sources point to three major ones.
Let's start with the first, algorithmic opacity, the black box problem.
Right. An AI system might be making the right call 99% of the time, but if the public or even the officials using it can't understand how it reached that decision, trust just evaporates.
But wait, if the system is efficient and accurate, why do we need to know the how? Isn't efficiency the goal?
It's about justification. That's the cornerstone of public accountability. If a human official decides to override an algorithm that recommended denying a benefit to someone,
They have to be able to explain why they did it.
exactly. And if the algorithm is just a black box, the human official loses their ability to challenge it or override it responsibly. They just become a rubber stamp for the machine.
That makes total sense. Okay, the second risk is fascinating. It's called displacement of discretion. The idea that discretion doesn't just vanish, it just moves into less visible spaces, which could be even worse for accountability.
This is such a critical finding. You see this with legal professionals, for example. They might resist an algorithmic system not by openly defying it, but through subtle things like data obfuscation.
So they just don't enter the data correctly, or they drag their feet on certain files.
Precisely. That discretionary decision is now hidden in the operational process. It's impossible to audit. It's the high-tech version of just leaving a paper file at the bottom of the pending stack.
And the third major risk.
Automation bias. This is a big one. If the algorithm is seen as infallible, frontline staff might just start over-relying on it. They stop using their own hard-won experience and judgment.
Their practice narrows. They just focus on procedural compliance because the algorithm said so.
Even if their own gut, their professional intuition, is screaming that the outcome is unfair or misses some crucial human context.
That raises a massive ethical challenge. How do you even begin to program abstract public values like fairness or equity into a foundational AI model?
That is the defining challenge. These things are complex and they depend on context. It's not like programming a simple efficiency rule.
So to get to that accountable discretion, we have to look at how AI transforms the three pillars of accountability.
The political, the professional, and the participatory.
Let's start with political accountability. That's the classic top-down vertical oversight for managers.
All right. And AI strongly reinforces this. It provides data-driven oversight, auditable decision traces.
The example of police officers moving from street policing to screen policing is perfect.
It is. Their frontline work gets digitized, which makes it much more visible and manageable from a central command. It strengthens accountability because the metrics are so much clearer.
But there's a tension there. That visibility that helps the manager could also just crush professional judgment if the workers feel like the AI is just a tool for control.
Absolutely. The manager can see everything, so they have to resist the urge to micromanage everything. It's a balance.
Okay, then moving horizontally, we have professional accountability. This is about adhering to standards among your peers.
And AI helps here by standardizing the processes that should be standard. It improves procedural fairness, making sure everyone is performing their duties ethically and competently.
But the friction point here is the expert who feels like the tech is undermining their years of training.
Exactly. You get resistance when the tech is seen as too rigid, when it undermines that deep, experiential knowledge that defines a profession.
Right, if a manager just uses AI to push for raw efficiency.
It can clash directly with a doctor's or a social worker's professional commitment to client-centered service. The tech has to be flexible enough to allow for that human insight.
And finally, participatory accountability, citizen oversight. This feels like the area with the biggest potential for change.
It's a massive opportunity. AI enables a two-way flow of information. Suddenly, both bureaucrats and citizens can access and interpret data about how services are being delivered.
So a community group could use AI tools to spot patterns.
Yes, like comparing emergency response times between different neighborhoods and then hold the city accountable with hard evidence.
But for that to work, you need the groundwork. You have things like the digital divide.
Huge hurdles. You risk a situation where only the affluent or tech-savvy citizens can use these tools effectively. And on the other side, local governments might just get swamped by all the new citizen input and not have the capacity to actually respond to it.
So it's clear AI is an amplifier, not a magic solution. The benefits only show up if you deliberately build these ethical guardrails around it.
Which leads us right to the actionable strategies. The research lays out 5 guiding principles for policymakers.
Let's walk through them. Principle 1, equitable AI deployment.
This is fundamental. It means ensuring that these new AI capabilities are available to all government roles, not just the managers in the central office.
So you need audits and targeted training.
Right, to close those gaps in AI literacy, especially for staff serving marginalized communities where trust is already low.
Principle 2, adaptive administrative frameworks. You can't just bolt AI onto a system designed in the 1950s.
No, you have to reform those rigid structures, revise civil service job classifications, union agreements, create innovation sandboxes for low-risk experiments.
And actually rewrite job descriptions to include AI management as a skill.
Yes, you have to recognize that human workers are now co-managers of an algorithmic system.
Next up, the absolute backbone of all of this, robust data governance.
Because if the data is poor or biased or fragmented, the AI will just amplify those flaws. It'll lead to discrimination and erode trust.
So you need transparency about how data is used and quality audits before the AI even touches it.
Absolutely.
Principle 4 is maybe the most important for keeping discretion alive. Proactive human judgment.
How do you protect that from automation bias when the whole system is built for speed?
You start by creating really clear guidelines that define the roles. Is a person human in the loop, meaning they have to approve every single decision?
Like in a complex child welfare case.
Right. Or are they human on the loop, where the system runs on its own and a human only steps in when an anomaly is flagged?
Which might be fine for, say, a parking ticket appeal.
Exactly. And that clarity is where standardized documentation, like model cards or algorithm registers, becomes essential.
A model card is like a nutrition label for an algorithm, right?
That's a great way to put it. It tells you what data went in, what it's supposed to do, and where its blind spots are. That documentation, plus internal ethics boards and clear escalation channels, gives an official the power to override a bad algorithmic suggestion without fear.
And finally, principle 5, citizen oversight, leveraging that local advantage. It means focusing outward. Publish non-technical summaries so regular citizens can understand how public algorithms work. Partner with community organizations to bridge the digital divide. Make sure everyone has the tools to engage.
So if we pull this all together, the core argument is incredibly powerful. AI doesn't just tweak the system, it fundamentally reconfigures the relationship between discretion and accountability.
It moves it away from that zero-sum trade-off to a dynamic of, well, mutual reinforcement.
Yeah.
But only if it's governed correctly with these 5 principles.
It creates an environment where frontline officials can exercise more informed, context-sensitive judgment,
Exactly what Lipsky said they needed.
while also giving managers and citizens better tools for oversight and transparency. The AI expands what's possible.
It does.
So what's the final thought here? The big question we should be watching.
Well, the research suggests the next step isn't just about measuring accountability as some static score like a compliance percentage.
It's more dynamic than that.
The really critical question as these tools get woven into daily work is this: how does AI deployment actually alter the behavioral negotiation of discretion and oversight.
Between the frontline official and their manager.
That's the real dynamic to watch. The behavioral traces, decision timing, approval flows, the documented overrides, that data will show us whether AI is truly fostering accountable discretion or if it's just pushing those old power struggles into new, less visible data channels.
We have to watch the human element.
Indeed. The technology is just the tool.
Mm.
The outcome really depends on the institutional will to govern it ethically and transparently.
A perfect place to end this deep dive. Thank you for guiding us through it.